Hey there, Brightsider. I've got some refreshing riddles for you. Let's start with a warming-up activity. Your main goal is to answer fast and correctly, of course.
Yeah.
I have cities, but no houses. I have forests, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? Right. I'm a map. What can run but never walks? Has a mouth but never talks, certainly not me. Has a head but never weeps. Has a bed but never sleeps. It's a river. Did you guess it right? What runs all around your backyard, yet never moves? Psst, it's a fence. I'm a box that holds keys without locks, yet my keys can unlock your imagination. What am I? A book. Now I've got a bit tougher brain teaser for you. What TV series is represented by this rebus? Here's a hint. The first, third, and fifth names are there only to fill space. And the answer is Even Stevens. All of the even numbers correspond to some kind of a variation of the name Stephen. Now, which letter comes next in this sequence? You can pick from the following letters: L, V, Y, T, or D. We need the letter Y. The sequence stands for second, minute, hour, day, week, month, and year. A cowboy rode into town on Friday. He stayed for 3 nights and rode out on Friday. How is it possible? His horse's name was Friday. 6 children have been measured. Turns out Weldon is taller than Delia, but shorter than Zena. Leisha is taller than Benito, but shorter than Delia and Weldon. Benito is not the shortest. Can you put the kids in order of height from the tallest to the shortest one? The right order is Zena, Weldon, Delia, Leisha, Benito, and Charlotte. Look at these athletes. Who will win the race? The left shoe of the guy on the right is untied, so he isn't likely to be the first one to get to the finish line. The guy on the left seems to be really exhausted, so he can't be the first one either. Meanwhile, the guy in the middle looks really confident, so he has the highest chance of winning this race. Now get ready for a nice logic puzzle. You've been invited to a party at Charlie's house, but you've never been there before. The guy has 7 friends who live nearby. They've given you a map showing all their houses as well as Charlie's house and provided you with the following information. Daniel: I can't see Benita's house because Greta's house is in the way. Adam: I live directly, but not diagonally, across the street from Daniel. Benita: Elena's house is to the west of my house. Elena: I have to cross 3 streets to arrive at Franco's house. Hal. I live east of Benita. Can you figure out which house is Charlie's? It's House E, and that's where the rest of the friends live. On April Fool's Day, a teenager decided to play a prank on his parents. He replaced salt in 3 out of the 4 salt shakers with sugar and left messages on each of them. Shaker A, this is salt. Shaker B, this is salt. Shaker C, this is sugar. Shaker D, the salt is not in Shaker B. If only one of these inscriptions is true, which shaker contains salt? The only truthful statement is statement D. The salt is not in Shaker B. Otherwise, 2 statements will be true and it's against the rules. And if statement D is true, then the salt is in Shaker C. If Teresa's daughter is my daughter's mother, what am I to Teresa? You can choose from the following options. The correct answer is, I'm Teresa's daughter. You see, in this riddle, you, the reader, are Teresa's daughter. That's what you are to her. How come? Well, if Teresa has a daughter who is also the mother of your daughter, you are Teresa's daughter. Now let's break it down in a different way. Teresa is your daughter's grandmother, which makes Teresa your mother and makes you the daughter of Teresa. The tricky part is the multiple choice answers. You might have tried to figure it out as if you're an additional person to the riddle, when in fact, you're inserted into the riddle from the get-go. If Teresa's daughter, which is you, is my daughter's mother, what am I to Teresa? The answer is already there. A cat is out on a hunt, and a mouse is hiding from the predator. Can you spot the mouse before the cat does? Here it is. Find the number that best completes the following sequence. This number is 16 because each next number adds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 respectively to the preceding number. Let's have a small break and crack some short riddles, but you need to be fast.
Yeah.
I make 2 people out of 1. What am I? A mirror. What comes once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never in 1,000 years? It's the letter M. What's more useful when it's broken? The answer is an egg. What did a computer eat on the moon? Space bars. Oh. Now look at this picture and try to figure out which figure doesn't belong here. It's the triangle. It has only 3 line segments, while the other figures have 4. Another image to examine. Can you deduce which woman is rich? Sarah's watch is fake. Look at the way the name of the brand is written, Versace. Pam's gold bracelet looks very old and has scratches all over it. At the same time, Jessica's wearing a real Tiffany bracelet. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson wanted to celebrate their wedding anniversary. They were going to organize an extravagant party and invite hundreds of guests. But Mrs. Anderson was worried about all the expensive stuff they had in their villa. The couple decided to invite a detective to look after the guests. And indeed, in the middle of the party, the detective noticed a thief. Look at the people gathered in the garden and try to spot the criminal. It's the guy on the left. He's trying to steal a woman's bracelet. One morning, Donna came to the office and found a box of chocolates on her desk. There was a strange note. October 7th, May 3rd, August 1st, January 3rd. Can you help Donna understand who presented her the sweets? Her secret admirer is Ryan. Those are not dates. The numbers actually means the needed letter in the name of the month. Detective Mitchell was following a bank robber, but after the criminal turned the corner, he seemed to vanish into thin air. After wandering around for a while, the detective came across a small park with a lake. Right on the shore, there were several marble statues. The man was about to pass by when something drew his attention. He realized where the criminal was. Can you figure it out? One of the statues is looking at its watch. It's the bank robber. Dennis is taking part in a competition. If his last answer is correct, he'll get a prize, an expensive watch. But first, he needs to figure out which of these two watches is real and which is just a toy. The watch on the left is a toy. Look at its minute hand. It's too long and won't be able to pass all the way around the watch face. Lisa worked as a teaching assistant at a college. One day, she had to look after a group of students who were writing an exam. Lisa knew that some of them were going to cheat. And indeed, soon after the exam started, the girl spotted one person who was cheating. Who was it? The guy in the back of the classroom. He's got the answers written on his arm.
Kai gets a new job as a lab assistant. He arrives at work early in the morning. Bad news! All capsules with their robots have opened, and now the robots are crushing the lab. Kai runs to the control panel, but unfortunately, the previous employee left a hot mess. All the wires are tangled. Which button should Kai press? Only the blue button can be helpful because it will stop all the robots. Kai's wife, Stella, runs an art studio. She has 3 talented painters in her class: Tom, Sam, and Mia. Today, Stella learns good news. One of her students' paintings won an international competition.
Yes!
But instead of announcing the winner's name right away, Stella draws this sketch. Can you guess the winner? Stella encoded a hint in her sketch. If we take the first letters of these 3 words, we'll get the name Sam. Kai and Stella reunite to go to sleep. A loud sound wakes them up in the middle of the night. They hide under their blankets. After a while, they dare to look out and see a werewolf. Kai soon realizes that the monster isn't real. How did he know? Look out the window. It's not a full moon today.
Oh.
Kai arrives at the lab and finds out that his boss, Richard, had been attacked. Richard was working on a very important chemical project with 3 assistants, Agnes, Allison, and Amelia. Police officers examine the crime scene and discover a spoon in the hand of the unconscious scientist. Why would Richard hold a silver spoon? Soon, Kai cracks this hint, and the officers arrest the criminal. How did they know? Richard was a chemistry scientist, so he gave a hint. Ag is the chemical symbol for silver. The scientist was pointing at Agnes. Kai enters an abandoned part of the lab. This place is infested with rats. Can you figure out where the rat is hiding? Over here. What about these teapots? Where's the rat? Hello. Kai returns to his office and notices that someone robbed him. What 3 things did the thief steal? Here they are. Kai wants to know who robbed his office. He questions 3 suspects. Amelia says that she went to the library to grab a book. Allison says that she went to wash her hands before lunch. And Oliver says he went to the gym for his daily workout. Who's lying? Allison couldn't wash her hands. Take a look at the announcement. There's no water in the lab today. After work, Kai takes a walk in the park. This elderly lady lost her husband.
Oh my lord.
Can you find him among these guys? It's the 3rd man. They have identical stickers from Paris on their bags, so they probably traveled together. Kai enters a new candy store. It has just opened in his neighborhood. Unfortunately, someone robbed this place last night. The police are having a hard time because security cameras haven't been installed yet. They find 3 main suspects living in this area. All 3 have recently been released from prison. Alex just got free. He hasn't left the house yet, and his security camera footage proves it. Mike says that he's got a new job. It's very exhausting, and sometimes he wishes he'd rather be in prison. And Kevin has recently broken his leg, so he doesn't leave the house because he doesn't have any money for any crutches. Who robbed the candy store? Alex! He's all covered in soot. Take a look at his fireplace. He climbed out through it. On the weekend, Kai comes to a big family dinner at his relative's house. He takes a lot of pictures. One of these photos shows a mother and daughter, and the other photo shows a stepmother and stepdaughter. Can you guess who is who? The first woman has the same mole under her eye as the daughter. They must be blood relatives. So the second lady is the stepmother. Kai and Stella are chilling on the beach. Kai goes swimming alone. After a while, he returns and finds Stella unconscious on a sun lounger. Kai calls the police and doctors. They figure out that Stella was poisoned. The officer investigates the crime scene and Stella's stuff. Can you help him find anything suspicious? Take a look at her glass. There are pills in her cocktail. The detective immediately takes fingerprints from Stella's glass. Can you help find the main suspect? Why did the photographer touch her glass? That's suspicious. Kai and Stella return home and realize their cat, Fluffy, is missing. They question 3 neighbors. Vivian says that she didn't see any cats and she's allergic to all the animals. That's why she stays away from them. Helen says that she has no reason to steal their cat because she has her own. Donna says that she was painting her fence and saw Fluffy for a moment, but the cat ran away very quickly. Can you figure out who's lying? Donna mentioned that she painted her fence, but does it look freshly painted? Busted! Kai is meeting his brother Frank. One of these ladies is Frank's girlfriend. Can you guess who? The lipstick marks on Frank's neck are exactly the same as the first lady's lipstick, so she's his girlfriend. The next morning, Kai arrives at the lab. Wow! Someone left a weird gift box on his desk. Kai opens it and finds a cute teddy bear. The box isn't signed. Kai wants to know who did it, so he questions his coworkers. Amelia says that she didn't enter Kai's office today. Oliver says that he's afraid of soft toys. And the janitor says that he entered Kai's room in the morning to vacuum clean it. He didn't see any gift boxes. Who's lying? Oliver. Take a look at his own desk. There's a couple of soft toys there, so his story is fake.
Oh.
Kai goes shopping and buys 2 items. A hat and a scarf cost $110. The hat is $100 more expensive than the scarf. How much does the scarf cost? $5. It means that the hat costs $105, which is exactly $100 more than the scarf. Meanwhile, Stella arrives at her art gallery. Oh no! Someone sprayed the best paintings with yellow paint! Stella closed the gallery at 9 p.m. last night, and everything was fine. The police find 3 suspects and visit their houses. The guard who was on duty last night didn't notice anything suspicious. He locked the gallery at 10 and went home. The janitor completed cleaning at 9:30. The paintings were fine. The barista who works on the opposite side of the street claims that he closed the coffee shop at 8:30 p.m. last night. Who ruined the paintings? Take a closer look at the guard's trash bin. He threw away a pair of gloves stained with yellow paint. Busted! Kai and Stella go hiking and get lost. Soon they come across 4 roads. The first one leads to a supermassive black hole. It swallows everything that gets close. The second road ends in a sea full of sharks. The third road leads to a mountain that's impossible to climb over. And the fourth road ends in a bottomless abyss. Which road should the guy take? They should choose the third road. No one says they should climb the mountain. They can simply go around it. Duh.
Yes.
Stella and Kai keep on hiking. Stella asks him a riddle. Can you start a fire using 2 pieces of wood? Yes, make sure one of them is a matchstick. The next day, Stella and Kai are driving through the city in 2 separate cars. They both started their journey at the same time. Kai's green car is moving at a speed of 30 miles per hour. Meanwhile, Stella's yellow car is moving at the speed of 50 miles per hour. At one point, the green car comes across the yellow car. How is it possible? The cars are traveling in the opposite direction.
Hey, let's see how smart you are. Ezra is in love with his new classmate named Amber. He asks her out. She agrees to go on a date with him under one condition. He has to figure out which one of these 7 pencil cases is hers. Can you help him out? Take a look at Amber's outfit. It's pretty obvious that she likes cats. So we can make a short list of cases with cat decorations. Also, Amber likes purple. Therefore, only this pencil case is a perfect match. Ezra and Amber are walking down the street and enjoying each other's company. But there's a criminal among these people. Can you spot who? It's this black hoodie guy inside the police car. Ezra wants to take Amber to his favorite spot in the park. But unfortunately, the main road is closed for repairs. They have to walk through this maze. Can you help them find the correct route? Here's the only way leading to the final destination. Ezra takes a couple of pictures of Amber. Can you find 5 differences between them? Feel free to stop the video if you need more time. Are you ready to see the answers? Here they are. Later that day, Ezra returns home. He wants to watch videos on his tablet. But unfortunately, his little brother pulled a prank and changed his password. Can you help Ezra figure out the new 4-digit code? Ezra's brother left this painting on the wall. It's a hint. All Ezra has to do is count the number of angles on each shape. So the answer is 3406. Ezra is watching his favorite travel blogger, Diego. This guy has a couple of million followers. This time, Diego goes into the uninhabited desert. He wants to find a very rare type of lizard. He reaches his final destination, posts several photos, and goes to sleep. After this post, thousands of people, including Ezra, unsubscribe from Diego. Why? Take a look at the third photo. See this sign? There's a hotel nearby. So, Diego lied. He's not in the uninhabited desert. Amber wakes up in the middle of the night because she hears someone crying and moaning. She turns on the nightlight. There's a creepy ghost standing in front of her bed. But soon Amber realizes that the ghost isn't real. How did she know? Look at the floor. This ghost has a shadow, so it can't be real. The next morning, Amber enters the class and sees a bunch of beautiful flowers at her desk. She finds a love note on the bouquet. The flowers are from a secret admirer. Amber wants to know who sent them, so she questions 3 suspects. Ezra says that he's allergic to lilies. Harry says he's in love with another lady. It makes no sense for him to send any gifts to Amber. And Bob says he was the first to arrive at the class today. The flowers were already on Amber's desk. Who's the secret admirer? Take a look at Harry's desk. There's a notebook with the exact same purple paper as the love note. Gotcha. After classes, Ezra and Amber go to the local coffee shop. They take a seat and look around. They see a guy and a lady competing in arm wrestling. Who has more chances to win? Take a look at the lady's neck. It has a USB port. She's a robot. Therefore, she's gonna win. Ezra returns home and finds out that his father, Aaron, is missing. Aaron is a genius scientist and businessman. He's been receiving many threats recently. So Ezra calls the police right away. The officer questions Aaron's three major rivals. Alex says he left the business many years ago. He lives a humble life in the village. Chris says his business is much more successful than Aaron's. Why would he kidnap him? And Mike says he hasn't seen Aaron for many years, and they don't have any joint ventures. One of these guys is involved in Aaron's disappearance. Can you guess who? Take a look at the fridge. Aaron left a hint. If we use the letters encoded in this message, we'll get the name Mike. Meanwhile, Aaron wakes up in a creepy dungeon. His kidnappers ask him to create a potion that can shrink people tenfold. Aaron doesn't want to help them. Luckily, he has 2 pills in his pocket. The first one makes you invisible, and the second one makes you 10 times bigger. Aaron doesn't know which pill is which. Can you come up with an escape plan? Aaron is sitting here all alone. He has no one to test the pills on. So it's better to create the shrinking pills for the kidnappers. Then eat one of his own pills. If he grows 10 times, he can just use the new pills to return to his actual size. But if he turns invisible, he can escape with the shrinking pills. Well, Aaron escapes from the kidnappers and runs to the nearest subway. Can you spot a criminal in this location? Hello? Aaron gets on a busy train and goes to the police station. One of these passengers is a wizard. Can you spot who? It's this lady. Her feet don't touch the floor. She's flying. Aaron is walking towards the police station, but suddenly he falls into a pit. He ends up getting trapped in a dungeon. Soon, Aaron finds 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a mirror labyrinth. It drives every man who dares to spend more than 5 minutes there crazy. There's a hungry wolf behind the second door. He loves feasting on humans. And behind the third door, there's a huge tank with sharks. If Aaron steps in, he'll fall into the tank. What should he do to survive? Aaron should open the third door, then open the second door and let the wolf out. And finally, quickly hide behind the first door and close his eyes. The wolf would start looking for Aaron behind the second door and fall into the tank with sharks. Then Aaron will be free to escape through the second door. Finally, Aaron is home. Ezra prepares him a welcome chocolate cake. He puts it on the table and leaves the kitchen for a moment. Then he returns and finds out that the cake is ruined. Ezra questions the 2 people who are in the house. His brother says that he's been playing video games in the living room. He didn't enter the kitchen. And Aaron says he's been taking a shower. Who ruined the cake? Neither brother nor father. The window in the kitchen is open, and there's a bird covered in chocolate on the tree. It was the bird. Aaron builds a robot that can do all the housework and calls it Meg. One day, Aaron comes home from work and finds out that his robot is missing. He's looking for it everywhere and finally finds a dungeon. He goes there hoping to find his robot. But instead, he finds 5 robots looking exactly the same as his. He only has one try to pick the right robot. Can you help Aaron? Some robots have badges, some do not, but only this one has the name Meg. The next day, Aaron enters his office and finds one of his best employees, Stan, lying on the floor in one of the rooms. Someone had hit him on the head. The police question the workers and find 3 suspects. Maya, the office assistant, says she had a couple of days off and spent them sunbathing on the beach. Rob, the manager, tells the police that his friend had called him to ask for help. That's why he left the office before Stan came to work. Lily, Stan's girlfriend, says they had quarreled earlier that day, but after that, she didn't see him. The police officers understand right away who's lying. What about you? Maya said she spent several days on the beach, but her skin is super pale. Uh-oh, busted.
Get ready to decipher the enigma.
3 women gathered at a table in a popular cafe. Their appearances seemed to reveal their financial status. 2 of them looked wealthy, while one woman didn't seem to be as well off. Look at these ladies very attentively and write in the comments which of them is not actually rich. The answer might not be as obvious as it seems. The woman wearing pearls is not trying to show off her wealth. She's content with her simple, sustainable life. This suggests that she's truly rich. The second woman has extremely expensive accessories. She doesn't need a car, since she will be picked up by her driver and notified of their arrival through her Apple Watch. But the third woman is not actually rich. She doesn't have any valuable possessions, and that money falling out of her bag is actually fake. Look at these 2 couples lounging on the beach. There are designer bags by their side, and they're dressed in fancy swimsuits. At first glance, both couples appear to be well off, but only one of them possesses true richness. If you have already figured out which couple it is, share your ideas in the comments. The couple on the left have some fake items. If you look at them attentively, you'll notice that the logos are written incorrectly. They're also pale. Can it be because they have to work all the time and go on vacation just once a year? As for the couple on the right, their seemingly simpler yet well-maintained belongings suggest that they value quality over extravagance. And their worn luggage speaks of their many trips. Plus, they have tanned skin, which means that they can vacation much more often. A suspected criminal, Doug the Evil Man, had been bouncing around various places in the world. Interpol had been trailing him, expecting to catch him with large amounts of unaccountable cash. When they finally got their hands on the criminal, they only found sunglasses, a wallet containing about $50 American, credit cards, and some foreign loose change. They had nothing to do but let the guy go. In reality, though, Man managed to sneak a fortune right before the authorities' eyes. If you have any ideas about how he did it, share them in the comments. These foreign coins were actually extremely rare and incredibly expensive ancient coins. Detective Stanwyck came to Mr. Pennyroll's house to investigate a crime. Mr. Pennyroll claimed He had been kidnapped by bank robbers when he had arrived to open up the bank where he was the assistant manager. They made him open the safe and give them the money. They told the man to drive them to his house. They wanted to get his wife's jewelry too.
Oh my God!
While they were on the way, one of the criminals moved the money into a paper bag and threw the bank bag out of the window. When the car stopped at the red light 2 blocks later, the banker managed to escape. The detective decided to follow the route back to the bank to look for clues. At one point, Mr. Pennyroll shouted that he saw the empty bank bag, and a few minutes later, he pointed at the red light where he managed to escape. When they arrived at the bank, Detective Stanwyck arrested Mr. Pennyroll for a false report. Have you noticed a problem with the banker's story? Then tell us in the comments below. While heading back to the bank, they should not have reached the money bag before they reached the corner where Mr. Pennyroll jumped out of the car. He supposedly did that after the criminal had tossed the bag out. If this story was true, the detective and banker would have passed the corner first and the money bag next on the way back to the bank. Now, there's a truly mysterious case for you. Chelsea walked up to a parked taxi, handed the taxi driver a $20 note, and walked away. Here are the things you need to know. She's not very good with directions. $20 is too big of a tip for giving directions. The girl also has a car of her own, and it's not broken. Can you solve this mystery faster than the other Brightsiders? Leave your answer in the comments. Chelsea was lost and paid the taxi driver to take her to her destination. She followed him in her own car. Look at this picture very attentively. Can you spot a thief and explain your choice in the comments below the video? It's the woman in the brown coat with white lapels. She stands out among the crowd, as everyone else is either wearing sleeveless or short-sleeved outfits. Stephen called the police to report that his valuables were missing. When the police arrived, the man told them he had gone on a camping trip alone. He just got there and set up his tent when it started raining heavily. He hurried to get some dry firewood and left his bag with his wallet and all the documents inside the tent. When he came back, everything was gone. The police officers didn't believe Stephen and fined him for making a false call. Have you figured out how they understood that the man was lying? Tell us in the comments. Stephen said he had set up the tent before it started to rain. But then, why is there a big puddle inside? Tom vanished at around 10 p.m. on Friday in the fall. A police officer questioned his 4 friends. She suspected that one of them had something to do with the guy's disappearance. She asked each of them what they had been doing at that time. Adam said he had been choosing an outfit for a date. Daniel was getting ready for a party that was going to take place at his apartment. Sophia said she had been relaxing by doing yoga before her night shift at work. And Jake was watching birds in the park. After questioning the suspects, the police officer arrested one of Tom's friends. If you know who she detained, write it in the comments. It was Jake. At 10 p.m. in the fall, it's too dark to see birds outside. Police Officer James was called into a small hotel to investigate a mysterious jewelry disappearance. Emily had checked in the night before and put all her expensive diamonds in her hotel room safe. After she came back from lunch the next day, the jewelry was gone. James had 3 suspects. The receptionist said she had been out on her lunch break. The maid said another guest had checked out earlier that day, and she had been cleaning their room. Susan, another hotel guest, said that she had just woken up. One of these people is lying. If you figure out who it is, write your guess in the comments as fast as possible. It's Susan. She said she had just woken up, but look at her bed. The maid had already made it. Joan came home one evening and discovered that someone had robbed her house. When the police arrived, they went to question the neighbors. Victoria said that she had been visiting her friend who lived 2 blocks away. She came home a couple of minutes ago. Peter said that he had been ill. He only made a short trip to the pharmacy and stayed in bed after that. Nathan said that he and his wife had been preparing for a barbecue party with their friends. But it started raining heavily, and they had to cancel their plans. Help the police and write the name of the thief in the comments below. It was Victoria. It was raining, and she said she had just come home. But look! Her hair, clothes, and the umbrella, which is standing near the door, are absolutely dry. Tyler was going to his friend's place in the evening when a stranger in a black mask captured him. The next thing the guy knew, he was in a large room, locked in a cage. There were 3 levers in the wall next to the cage. If he pulled the first lever, he would let hungry lions into the cage. The second lever would flood the cage with water. And the third lever would activate a special mechanism that would make the top of the cage move down towards the bottom, crushing everyone and everything inside. Which lever should Tyler pull to survive? Share your choice in the comments. His only choice is the second lever. All the water will flow out through the bars of the cage. It's a beautiful morning. Megan wants to have a quick breakfast before work, but she only has 3 identical apples. Only one of them is safe to eat, while the other 2 are poisoned. Can you help her choose the best option? The second apple has a caterpillar in it, which means that there's no poison in the fruit, so it's safe to eat. Megan is riding her motorbike to work as usual. She drives around the same corner at a certain speed every day, regardless of whether it's rainy or sunny. However, if it's cloudy but not rainy, Megan usually goes faster. Why? There's a car wash on that corner. On rainy days, wet roads reduce traction. On sunny days, water from the car wash makes the road wet and causes the same effect. But if the weather forecast says there's a chance of rain, the car wash gets few clients and thus the road stays dry. That's why Megan passes the area faster. Megan is sitting in her office. Suddenly, a delivery guy enters the room holding a cardboard box. He sits down near Megan. Although she can't see, hear, or smell the contents of this box, she knows for sure what's there. How? Megan is allergic to cats. She began to experience the symptoms of her allergy. Megan is looking out of the office window. She sees a pile of pebbles, a carrot, and a pipe laying together in the middle of a garden. Any idea what happened here? Megan saw the remains of a melted snowman. Megan's boyfriend Stan sends her a selfie. She immediately realizes that he cheated. How did she know? Take a look at the background. There's someone's lipstick on the dresser. The lipstick probably doesn't belong to Megan. That's why she suspects that another woman has been visiting Stan's apartment. Megan goes to the office kitchen and finds 2 identical lunchboxes in the fridge. Can you find 3 differences between them? Here they are. Megan's coworker Sarah claims that one of the lunchboxes belongs to her. Can you guess which one? The lid of the first lunchbox has a nail polish scratch on it. The color of the nail polish matches Megan's purple nails perfectly. Therefore, the second box must belong to Sarah. Megan's task is to find a rental beach house for her boss. She finds 3 available options. Can you help Megan choose the best one? According to the info box, the first house will be completed in 100 years, so it's probably a scam. The second house should have 4 floors, but it only has 2 according to the picture. Therefore, Megan should pick the third option. After work, Megan goes to a hairdresser. A group of clients is waiting in the lobby, but it's not that simple. One of them is not from this planet. Can you guess who? It's the First Lady. An Earthling would hardly drink shampoo. Megan asks her hairdresser to dye her hair red. They apply the hair dye, wait a precise amount of time, and then wash it off. Oh no! Megan's hair is green! She interrogates 3 suspects. The hairdresser says, "Honey, I have no idea what happened. I did everything according to instructions." The cleaning lady says, "I didn't approach your hair dye. I'm allergic to all sorts of hair products." And the manager says, "I'm so sorry, miss. Someone must have confused the packages with hair dye." Who's lying? The cleaning lady. She would hardly be able to work in a beauty salon if she really had allergies to all sorts of hair products. Megan is meeting her friend at a new nightclub. She enters the building and gets lost in the basement. Megan faces 3 doors leading outside this trap. Behind the first door, there's a bunch of gross snakes. Although they all look the same, some of them are venomous and some of them are not. Behind the second door, there's an ancient magic box. Anyone who dares open this box will be cursed. And there's a tunnel full of hungry guard dogs behind the third door. Which way is more or less safe? Megan should choose the second option. She can simply walk past the box without opening it and avoid the curse. Luckily, Megan manages to escape and finds the nightclub. The guard at the entrance demands a password. Megan forgot it. She only remembers that it's a 6-number combination. Can you help her crack the code? Take a look at the numbers written on the wall. Megan needs some lateral thinking here. The hint shows 3 4s, 7 1s, and 2 7s. So the code is 3 4 7 1 2 7. Finally, Megan enters the party. She spots a famous influencer among the guests, Rob. Megan approaches and asks for a selfie. He agrees, but in the middle of the photo shoot, Rob suddenly faints. The police figure out that he's been poisoned. They question 3 witnesses. Rob's wife, Ashley, says, We're both on a juice diet. Rob and I only drank one juice all day long. I feel okay. I have no idea what happened to him. Rob's manager, Stella, says, I only talk to Rob once a day. He borrowed my earbuds because he forgot his own at home. And Daniel, Rob's brother, says, Rob couldn't stand the juice diet, so I secretly treated him to some sugar-free organic cookies. I hope it's not my fault. Who poisoned Rob? Stella. There's a bottle of ear poison inside her pocket. She put it on the earbuds. Finally, Megan arrives home. Oh no! Someone stole her favorite antique vase. She calls the police and they question 3 neighbors. Mia says, I was out of town. I just returned an hour ago and I was so tired after a long drive that I immediately went to bed. Tyler says, I was getting ready to paint my house, but it didn't seem the rain would stop soon. So I went to the movies instead. Anna says, my sister got sick. That's why I was busy looking after my little nephew. Who's lying? It was Mia. It's been raining for the whole day. If she'd returned home just an hour ago, the road under her car would be wet. Megan joins the local running marathon. All the participants run the same distance. Each gets ranked according to their own unique result. Megan turns out to be both the 50th fastest and the 50th slowest runner. How many runners are there in the marathon? Even though 100 sounds like a clear-cut answer, it's actually 99. Megan is the 50th in the sequence from 1 to 50 of the fastest runners. If she's the 50th slowest, there has to be 99 runners ranked from 50 to 99. Megan is visiting the world's tallest skyscraper. It took 7 years to build it. Every year, the builders managed to double its height. How many years did it take the skyscraper to reach half its maximum height? Six years. If the constructors doubled the building's height every year, the skyscraper had to be half its final height a year before it was completed. Audrey lives alone in a condo in Boston. She wakes up in the middle of the night because of the loud music coming from one of her neighbor's apartments. She doesn't know exactly which apartment it comes from. So the next morning, Audrey asks her 3 neighbors what they were doing the night before. Molly says, I've been playing video games in my headphones all night long, so I didn't hear anything. Peter says, I was on a plane getting back from Paris. I just returned home a couple of minutes ago after 2 months in France. And Nina says, I was sleeping after a long shift at work. After hearing their stories, Audrey knows for sure who's a liar. What about you? It's Peter. He said he just returned from France, but look at his table. There are fresh apples lying there. If he had been gone for a month, they would have been rotten by now. Oh. Audrey checked her mailbox. Oh no! Bad news. The building where she rents her apartment is about to be demolished. She has only a week to find a new place and move out. Audrey starts searching online, but unfortunately, she forgot the password for her rental website account. She only remembers that this word is a tasty and sweet fruit that can give you a lot of energy. And you can also find it in your calendar. Can you crack the code? The correct password is date.
Yes!
Audrey logs in and scrolls through a bunch of rental listings. Finally, she finds 3 options. Can you help her choose the best apartment? According to the description, the first apartment was built in 1023. Wow, it must be very ancient. Boston didn't even exist then. It's probably a scam. Take a closer look at the couch in the third apartment. Can you see bed bugs? Ew! These nasty guys are not the best roommates. So, Audrey should pick the second apartment.
Okay.
Audrey books this new apartment, but unfortunately, she doesn't have enough savings to provide the requested deposit. She decides to take part in a game show. The winner will get $50,000. Audrey is doing pretty well, and finally, it's time for the last task. Audrey has to put her head in one of these 3 boxes. There are sparking electrical wires in the first one. There's a Venus flytrap in the second box. It's a carnivorous plant. And there are dozens of venomous scorpions in the third box. Can you help Audrey win the prize and stay safe? Audrey should choose the second box. Venus flytraps aren't dangerous for people, only for flies. Yay! Audrey wins the money. Now it's time to pack her boxes and move. Can you spot 3 emojis among her stuff? Here they are. Audrey goes to her favorite coffee shop to have a break. Let's see if you can find 3 emojis in this location. Hello? Audrey is exploring her new neighborhood. Suddenly, she sees something curious. It always runs, but it never walks. What is it? It's a river. David is Audrey's new neighbor. He agrees to help her move. But first, they need to pick up David's son from college. On their way there, David gets an idea. How about a bet? I'll give you my super expensive carpet if you manage to figure out which student is my son.
Okay.
Audrey agrees. They arrive at the college and see 3 guys waiting at the gates. They all look similar. Can you spot David's son? It's the student on the left. David has the letter L tattooed on his wrist, and the guy is wearing a bracelet with the same letter. Audrey wants to sell her old sofa. She finds 3 potential buyers online. The first one writes, "Hi, I'm Jessica. I'll buy your sofa and remove it tomorrow morning. But first, I'm going to need your phone number and to make sure you're not a scammer." The second one writes, "Hi, I'm Mike. Nice sofa, but the price is a bit higher than I was hoping. Can you make a $100 discount?" And Sheila says, "This sofa is perfect for my studio, but I'm abroad at the moment. Can we postpone the delivery for next week?" Can you help Audrey choose the best buyer? The first buyer introduces herself as Jessica, but her username and picture don't really match. Moreover, it's a bad idea to reveal your phone number to strangers online. As for Mike, his proposal to lower the price is ridiculous because Audrey is selling the sofa for $100 only. Thus, Sheila is the best choice.
Ooh.
The next morning, Audrey wakes up in her new apartment. The boxes are still unpacked, but Audrey wants to brew some coffee. Her coffee machine is in one of these 3 boxes. The note on the first box says that the coffee machine isn't in box 2. The note on the second box says the machine is in box 1 or 3. And the note on the third box says that the coffee machine isn't here. Can you help Audrey choose the right box? If the coffee machine isn't in the second box, it's either in the first or the third box. But the note on box 3 says the machine isn't there, so it must be in the first box. And now Audrey's task is to find one important thing. It has one eye but still cannot see. What is it? It's a needle. Here's what Audrey is looking for now. It's a protector and it sits on a bridge. One individual can see directly through it while others wonder what it hides. What is she looking for? Sunglasses. We meant the nasal bridge. Can you spot 3 emojis in Audrey's kitchen? Here they are. Audrey goes to the laundry room in the basement of the building. She gets lost and comes across 3 doors leading outside the trap. Behind the first door, there's a room full of poisonous bees that could make people lose their mind. Behind the second door, there's a room without oxygen. And there's a room full of unfriendly monsters behind the third door. Which way is more or less safe? The room without oxygen seems the most promising option. Audrey can hold her breath and quickly walk through the room. Audrey is about to leave the basement, but she comes across an anxious neighbor who says, "I just saw a crocodile and it ran into the boiler room." Audrey goes there to check, but nobody's there. How did the croc escape? This way. Audrey returns to her place. She scrolls her feed and sees these 2 photos. One of these ladies is a robot. Can you guess who? This lady on the left has an engine oil canister in the bathroom, but it doesn't prove that she's a robot. Meanwhile, the person in the toilet stall has strange wires in unexpected places. So she's the robot. Audrey goes to the furniture store. There, she sees a group of customers. But it's not that simple. One of them is a werewolf. Can you guess who? It's the third lady. Her claws pierced her gloves. She's transforming into a werewolf. Audrey goes to the local food court and purchases a cup of coffee and a strawberry donut. She leaves a tray with her order on a table and leaves for a moment to tip the waiter. Then she returns to find out that her food is gone. Audrey questions 3 people standing nearby. The cleaner says, "I was about to throw away your tray, but then I noticed that the food was untouched, so I left it alone." The manager says,
Sorry, miss. It's not my job to guard the tables.
and a customer sitting next to Audrey says, "Ew, gross. I would never touch someone else's food. What if you're sick?" Who's lying? The manager. You can see donut sprinkles on his face. Busted. Andrew and Emma agreed to meet for a date at the park entrance at 9 p.m. But there was a slight problem. Both Andrew's and Emma's watches were showing the wrong time. Andrew's watch was 3 minutes behind, but he thought it was 2 minutes ahead. Emma's watch, on the other hand, was 2 minutes ahead, but she thought it was 3 minutes behind. Which of them do you think will be late for the date? Andrew will be 5 minutes late, and Emma will be 5 minutes early. Gemma was attending a technology-themed costume party. When she arrived at the venue, she saw 3 people chatting by the drinks buffet, who were all dressed in robot costumes. However, she noticed that one of them was a real robot. Can you tell who? Everyone is holding drinks in their hands, but take a look at the second guy. His glass is empty, but he's still pretending to drink something from it. Robots and liquids don't go well together, so he must be an actual robot. Realizing that Gemma noticed him, the robot immediately pulled her to the corner of the room and said, "Now that you know my real identity, I need to wipe your memory. But if you can answer my riddle correctly, I'll let you go. I have keys, but open no locks. I have space, but no room. You can enter, but you can't go inside. What am I?" The answer is a computer. Janice, Candace, and Demeter were three witches who cared a lot about looking young and beautiful, but one of them was actually 100 years old. Can you tell me who? The first witch, Candace, who is taking a selfie, looks like an old woman on her phone screen, but that's just a social media filter. As for the second witch, Janice, the creepy old lady looking shadow at the back is not her shadow. It's an evil spirit that's haunting her. But look at the mirror the third witch, Demeter, is holding. It's reflecting what she doesn't want others to see, aka her true face. So she's the old lady here. Lloyd went to the costume store to buy something to wear for Halloween. Once he selected a costume for himself, he headed to the fitting rooms to try it, but all three of them were occupied. A few minutes later, three different customers in costumes came out of them. The first one was wearing a vampire costume, the second was wearing a werewolf costume, and the third one was wearing a zombie costume. But Lloyd immediately realized that one of them was actually a real monster. Can you tell who? Take a look at the mirrors in front of the fitting rooms. The customer in the vampire's costume doesn't have a reflection. That can only mean he is a real vampire. Sir Ridley Stormrider was a knight searching for his one true love. He traveled to the kingdom of Veridonia after hearing rumors that there was a magical mirror there, which revealed the location of the heart's desire to those who looked into it. But there was a catch. It would only reveal it to you if you knew the answer to the riddle that was engraved on it. I'm often running, but I never get tired. What am I? Can you help Sir Ridley Stormrider find love? The correct answer is water. Inspector Banner was inspecting the Academy of History and Science. During his inspection, he noticed that whenever he asked the class a question, all the students raised their hands in response. Moreover, even though the school teacher chose a different student each time, the answer was always correct. How did this work? The teacher had prearranged with the students that they would be called upon to answer regardless of whether they knew the answer or not. But those who knew the answer should raise their right hand, and those who did not know should raise their left hand. The teacher chose a different student each time, but always the one who raised his right hand. Amy had one last test to pass before she graduated. Her professor asked her only one question during the exam, which was this. You have 2 candle wicks. Each wick, lit from the end, burns completely to the ground in exactly 1 hour, but it burns at an uneven rate. How can you use these wicks and a lighter to measure 45 minutes? Can you help Amy graduate? It's necessary to light the first wick simultaneously from both ends, which will give you 30 minutes. Simultaneously with the first wick, you light the second wick from the end, and when the first wick burns out after 30 minutes, you light the second wick from the other end, which will give you the remaining 15 minutes. Layla's best friend was her dog named Gamgee. One night after spotting a falling star in the sky, she wished that Gamgee could talk to her. Then, suddenly, the star came to life in front of her and said, "I will grant you your wish if you can answer this riddle of mine. Always old, sometimes new, never sad, sometimes blue, never empty, sometimes full, never pushes, always pulls. What am I?" The answer is the moon. To Layla's surprise, her dog really started talking. The first thing it said was, "Oh, this riddle game is so fun! I want to play it too! Here's my riddle to you. What's always found on the ground but never gets dirty?" It's a shadow. Jamie was standing at the edge of a circular lake. The lake was 200 feet in diameter, and there was a small island directly in the middle. There was a large tree next to him and a large tree in the middle of the island. Jamie needed to get to the island in the middle of the lake, but he didn't know how to swim. He only had a little over 200 feet of rope. How can he use that to get there? First, Jamie needs to tie one end of the rope to the tree next to him. Then, while he's holding the other end of the rope, he should walk all the way around the lake. This will wrap the rope around the tree in the center. When he returns to his starting point, he needs to tie the end of the rope he's holding to the large tree again. He can now use this rope bridge to hold on to and cross the lake to the island. Cedric was a brilliant scientist. One day, suddenly a small portal appeared in his lap, and a little device with a letter attached to it fell on his head right before the portal closed. The letter said, "From future Cedric to past Cedric. One of my experiments accidentally caused chaos to be unleashed on Earth. That is why I have to prevent you from conducting this experiment in the first place. You will find the details inside the box, but you can only open it if you know the answer to this riddle. What occurs once in a minute, twice in a moment, and never in 1,000 years? Can you help Cedric save the future world?" The answer is the letter M. People who visited the town of Maplebrook often found themselves intrigued by Mr. Perry. He had a reputation of a not quite intelligent person. That was because when offered a choice between a 50-cent coin and a $5 bill, he always chose the coin, even though it was worth 10 times less than the banknote. Can you tell why he never chose the banknote? Well, he was not so foolish after all. You see, he realized that as long as he chose the 50-cent coin, people would offer him money to choose from, and if he chose the $5 bill, the offers of money would stop, and he would get nothing.
Becky attended her high school reunion last weekend.
Hello.
All of her friends seemed to be doing really well in life. Connor showed up wearing clothes from expensive brands.
Hello.
Matilda had not just one, but 2 of the latest smartphones.
Oh.
Tom showed up in a fancy sports car, and Beth was wearing a luxurious watch on her wrist. Take a good look at Becky's friends. Can you tell who is really rich? Well, let's see. If you look closely, Connor didn't take off the tags from his clothes. This probably means that he's planning on returning them after the reunion.
Yeah.
Matilda's phones are fake. Look at the label. It's just a copy of the original brand.
Ah.
And Beth's watch is way bigger than her wrist, which means that the watch is not really hers. So, Tom is probably the richest person at the reunion.
Oh, yeah.
Amy's favorite band is in town, and she really wants to go to their concert. She asks her stepmother if she can go, but she says she will only allow Amy to go if she does a series of things for her.
Oh.
The first thing the stepmother asks is for Amy to bring her some water in a colander. To get this right, Amy needs to think outside the box.
Okay.
Can you help Amy figure out how she can do that? Amy needs to freeze some water and put the cubes in the colander.
Yeah.
Technically, frozen water is still water, right? Next, her stepmother asks Amy to pick out the perfect evening dress for her. Amy walks into her stepmother's closet, and there are 3 dresses: a red, a green, and a blue. Take a look at the picture. Which dress should Amy choose? If you look closely, the button on the blue dress is about to come off. The green dress has a big paint stain on it, so Amy should pick the red dress.
Yes!
Before Amy can take the dress to her stepmother, the woman enters the room. She sees the stain on the dress and starts to shout at Amy, "How could you do this to my dress?" But Amy says she didn't do anything wrong, and that the paint was already there when she walked into the closet.
Yes!
The stepmother asks Amy to find the culprit.
Oh.
If she could figure out who had stained her dress, then Amy could go to the concert.
Okay.
The 3 main suspects are Amy's stepsisters, Ella, Bella, and Gabriella.
What?
They don't like Amy, so it's likely that one of them splashed paint on their mother's dress in order to frame her. When the stepsisters are out of the house, Amy sneaks into their bedroom to try to find the culprit. Take a look at the room. The first bed belongs to Ella, the second belongs to Bella, and the third bed belongs to Gabriella. Can you tell who did it? It was Gabriella. Her bed is the third one on the left. And if you look closely, it has a bucket of paint under it. Emily and Barbara are getting ready for a girls' night out.
Yes!
They are putting on makeup and getting their hair done. They have pretty similar tastes, and their things look pretty much the same. But one of them has more money than the other.
Oh.
Looking at the image, can you tell which one has the more expensive stuff? Take a look at Barbara. Her dress kind of gives it away since it's obviously a knockoff. So Emily is the one with the more expensive stuff. Harry decided to backpack around the world on his own.
Yeah!
On the plane, he sat next to a girl. He asked her where she was from.
Yes.
But instead of answering, she showed him 2 emojis on her cell phone.
Oh.
Take a look at the image. Can you tell which country the girl is from? Let's see. That's an iron and a piece of land. I guess she's from Ireland? As soon as Harry landed in Paris, he went strolling along the streets to find a place to stay. He found a cute little hotel and decided to go inside. Big mistake. Why? Take a look at the window on the last floor. It looks like there's a ghost. Yikes. I'd look for another place to stay if I were him. After he found a better hotel to stay in, he decided to get lunch. He ordered the classic French onion soup.
Yeah!
But when his dish came, it was filled with cockroaches. He called the restaurant's manager to tell them about the incident. The manager said, "This is unacceptable. I will find the person who did this and fire them immediately." There were 3 suspects. The cook said that he had prepared the soup as usual. It was okay when he passed it to the waiter. The waiter said that he hadn't touched the soup. He just served it to Harry and hurried to take the order from another table. The manager also questioned the cleaner, who said that he had spent the last hours cleaning the bathroom and had no idea what the fuss was about. Can you tell who is guilty? No one. Look at the ventilation system. It's full of roaches. They must have crawled out of it and fallen into Harry's soup. Yikes. There are 3 passengers in the business class of an international flight that is headed towards Rome. Take a look at these 3 people. The first lady looks pretty well dressed. She's wearing a luxurious designer handbag and is texting on her expensive phone.
Hello.
The guy in the middle is working with stock charts on his laptop, and the third guy is enjoying a cup of coffee while reading an article in the Financial Times. Can you tell which one is the real billionaire? Let's see. The woman may look well dressed, but if you see the tag on her clothes, it says 100% polyester. It's unlikely that a billionaire would wear something like this. The guy working with stock charts is wearing old, ripped shoes. I doubt that's a fashion choice, so he's probably not a billionaire. Oh. That leaves us the last guy. If you look closely, the article he is reading is about him. The title of the article is The World's Newest Billionaire. Oh, yeah. I guess we found our guy, huh? Detective Smith was called to investigate a burglary at the city's museum. Oh. A priceless diamond disappeared, and the thief left no trace behind. After analyzing the museum's security cameras, Detective Smith gathered 3 suspects: the security guard, the museum's curator, and a visitor. The security guard said he only left his post during lunchtime, and he could swear that the diamond still wasn't missing at that time. The museum curator spent the day guiding a tour of the museum for a foreign group. They came to see the diamond at the beginning of the tour, and it was still shining bright in its place. The visitor said he only popped in for a quick visit and didn't even pass through the Metzi aisle where the diamond was kept. After these 3 interviews, Detective Smith found the thief. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. First of all, he knew the exact location of the diamond inside the museum. Plus, take a look at that string he's fiddling with in his left hand. Detective Smith pulled it from under his sleeve and voila, the diamond was attached to it. I guess he didn't have time to go home and get rid of the diamond, huh? Julie and her friends decided to spend the weekend at a cabin in the woods. They arrived on Friday evening and spent the night playing board games and telling spooky stories. When they woke up on Saturday morning, they found that someone had stolen all their food supply. The door's glass was shattered, but other than that, there were no signs of who could have done it. So the group decided to search the surrounding woods to see if they could find the culprit. Take a good look at the scene the group stumbled upon and see if you can find out who took their food. What's that at the left corner? Those look like bear footprints, huh? And not just one, but rather an entire family of bears. Oh, and they even left an Oreo wrapper on the ground as evidence. Yep, these grizzlies were the culprits for sure. Atlas woke up in the attic of an abandoned house. He tried to find a way out of the house, but all he could find was a room with 3 doors. Each door hid a different danger. The windows and floor behind the first door were made entirely of magnifying glass, which meant that the sunlight would probably burn him if he entered. The second door hid a room full of poisonous gas, and behind the third door was a hungry lion. What should Atlas do to escape? He should wait until it's nighttime and use the first door. Sydney told her mom that her gymnastics team would go to a sports camp for the weekend. She asked her mom to help her pack a bag for the trip. Her mother packed everything she thought her daughter would need. When Sydney came back from the weekend, she was telling her mother all about the trip. But somewhere during the conversation, she asked her mother why she hadn't packed a toothbrush. The mother immediately knew Sydney was lying about where she had really been that weekend. How? Because Sydney's mother did pack a toothbrush, but she put it under Sydney's gymnastics clothes. If Sydney had really gone camping, she would have used the clothes and found the toothbrush. Kimberly discovered 3 bags in an old attic along with a note. The note said that there were $1 million inside one of the bags. It also said that the 2 other bags were empty. She only had one chance to figure out which bag had the cash, and she could trust that one of the messages written on the bags was true. On the first bag, it said, "The cash is not here." On the second bag, it was written, "The cash is not here." The last bag read, "The cash is in the second bag." If you were Kimberly, which bag would you choose? You should choose the first bag. If only one of the clues is true, then the money is in the first bag. The police have been after Mr. Burke for many years, trying to prove he's involved in illicit activities, but they never managed to catch him. One day, Detective Lawrence decided to make a surprise visit to Mr. Burke's office. As soon as the detective arrived, Mr. Burke's secretary said he was away on a business trip. The detective asked to see Mr. Burke's office and took a picture of it, but he wasn't allowed to touch anything without a warrant. So, Detective Lawrence went back to the station and got a warrant. When he returned to Mr. Burke's office, he noticed someone had been in there. Take a look at both pictures and try to find out what Detective Lawrence saw. The desk lamp is tilted and the books are in different places. Someone definitely was in that room. Detective Lawrence decided to search Mr. Burke's entire office. In one room, he found there were footprints up until the middle of the room, and then they disappeared. The only window of the room was open. "Oh no!" Detective Lawrence shouted. "I can't believe he escaped again." He took a picture of the room and took it to the police station. At the station, he showed the picture to the other detectives, and one of them said he had cracked the case. Take a look at the picture. How did the detective solve the case? The detective understood that Mr. Burke was a shapeshifter. This explains why the footprints didn't reach the window. Plus, look at all the bird food on the floor. He probably shapeshifted into a bird and escaped.
Doris was having a beach vacation with her friend Teresa. One morning, the young women were sunbathing near the water. Teresa went to a cafe to get some lemonade while Doris went swimming. When Doris came back, she saw that her smartphone, which she had left on her beach towel, was gone. "Have you seen my phone?" she asked the man sunbathing nearby. "Nah, I've been sleeping all this time." At this moment, Teresa came back with a lemonade. She looked around and immediately understood where Doris's phone was. Who took it? It was the man, all right. Before the incident, the spade was lying on his left. Now it's on the right. There's also a suspicious pile of sand near the spade now. The man must have hidden the phone in the sand, hoping to dig it out later. Terry invited his friend Alice, who was studying to become a police officer, to a party. It was organized by his friend Sean. Terry was worried there could be a thief at this party. Throughout the event, Alice was watching the guests attentively. At the end of the party, she told Terry who the thief was. Have you figured it out? It's the host, Sean. At the beginning of the party, one of the guests had a watch on his wrist, and this woman had a beautiful necklace. But at the end of the party, the watch is already on Sean's wrist, and the necklace is in the flower pot. Detective Carlson was walking along the street when he heard the sound of glass shattering. He looked around and saw a large crowd gathering near the broken window of a jewelry store. The shocked owner was inside. The detective ran up to him. "Has anything been stolen?" The man said he hadn't understood yet, but then Carlson exclaimed, "Sorry, I've got a thief to catch," and rushed away. What did he see? The store window was broken to distract everyone. People were looking away and didn't see this guy stealing a wallet from the man in a suit. At first, the wallet was in the man's pocket. Now the thief is rushing away, the wallet in his hand. The police had long suspected that Mr. Hall was a smuggler, transporting forbidden things on his yacht. That day, they knew for sure the cargo they were looking for was on his vessel. Several police officers came with a search warrant to the marina where Mr. Hall's yacht was parked. They examined every nook and cranny of the yacht, but didn't find what they were looking for. Mr. Hall was sneering while seeing them off. Suddenly, the youngest police officer exclaimed, "I know where the cargo is!" What did he understand? The cargo could only be underwater. Wrapped in a protective cover, it was tied to the anchor. Look at these guys carefully. One of them is not living alone. Who is it? It's the man on the right. He's got 2 toothbrushes. Austin, a rich businessman, brought very important documents to his office, but he had a meeting and needed to leave for several hours. Austin asked his secretary to be on the lookout for anything suspicious. His competitors could try to break into his office to look at the documents. When he came back, his secretary told Austin everything had been quiet. But when the man looked around, he realized someone had been inside his office. The secretary eventually admitted having fallen asleep while Austin was away. How did the businessman understand someone had visited his office? The globe on his desk is now turned in the opposite direction. William, a successful businessman, was having dinner at an expensive restaurant. At one point, he went outside to make an important call. When he returned, his case with money and documents was gone. The thief could only be another customer. When the police arrived, they questioned everyone who was in the restaurant. Karen said she had been writing a new chapter of her book. Paul said he had been waiting in a line to get to the bathroom. Donna had already paid for her coffee and was putting on her coat. And Robert was having a video call with his girlfriend. It didn't take detectives long to figure out who the thief was. Do you know it? The criminal is Paul. Besides him, there were only 4 other visitors at the restaurant, and they were all busy. How could there be any line for the bathroom? The police got informed that one of the most wanted criminals, Carl Walker, was going to arrive in the country. According to this information, the man was going to come by plane. Unfortunately, the police knew very little about him. He was short, wearing glasses, and traveling under a false name. Detective Adams went to the airport. He detained 4 people who fit the description. They were Mr. Lewis, Mr. Relcaw, Mr. Taylor, and Mr. Wilson. Look at these men carefully and try to figure out who the criminal is. It's Mr. Relcaw. His last name is actually the criminal's last name, Walker, but with its letters reversed. A detective is looking for an important witness. Without them, she won't be able to solve a complicated case. The only thing she knows is that the witness is left-handed. Look at these people and help the detective choose the person she needs. It's the waitress. She's holding the tray with her right hand and serving people with her left dominant hand. Look at these princesses and try to figure out which of them is the fake one. It's the princess on the right. The tiaras of the princess on the left and the one in the middle have a reflective shine to them. You can see they are made of precious metals. But the ice princess's tiara doesn't shine. It's made of plastic. A businessman arrived at his office after a long trip. He discovered that some important documents had disappeared from his desk. He immediately called the police, and a detective arrived shortly after. After interviewing all the workers, he had a list with 3 suspects on it. They were Emma, the accountant, Sophia, the receptionist, and James, the sales manager. But all of these people claimed they hadn't been inside the businessman's office. It didn't take the detective long to figure out who was lying. Do you have any ideas? The thief is James. Both women wear high heels in the office, but the footprints on the floor are obviously left by a pair of sneakers. An elderly lady called the police. She told them someone had sneaked into her house while she had been asleep. The intruder took away the money she kept hidden in her kitchen cupboard. The woman was sure it was one of her neighbors. The police visited all the neighbors, but each of them claimed they had spent the entire day at home. Look at their houses and try to figure out who the thief is. Rick is lying. He wasn't at home. His car was parked near the house already after the snow had built up on the driveway. Look at these people carefully. Who does this dog belong to? The dog's owner is the guy in the middle. He's the only one who isn't trying to pet the animal. Can you figure out how many watermelons there are in this picture? Five. Gloria failed her math test. Luckily, her professor was an understanding woman. She offered a deal. If the girl cracked 3 riddles, she'd get a good mark. Of course, Gloria agreed. The first task was to figure out the answer to the equation. Can you do the same? The answer is 232. Gloria didn't need much time to solve it and got the next puzzle. The student saw several numbers made up of matches. What should be the last number? The last number should be 1. After every step, the number of joints goes down by 1. And finally, the teacher gave Gloria several pool balls. Use only 3 of them to make this equation true. After a couple of minutes, Gloria figured out the way to do it. Do you know what she did? The girl rotated 9 and got 6. After that, she took the balls with numbers 13, 11, and 6 and got 30. Gloria's quick wit helped her, and she passed the test. You're trapped in a room with no doors or windows. All of a sudden, the room starts filling with water. You check everywhere, but can't find any way to turn it off. You know that help is on the way, but it's still at least 5 minutes until their arrival. You only have 2 minutes. After that, the entire room will be flooded. Obviously, you can't hold your breath for 3 minutes. You've got 3 objects, but only one of them can save your life. What should you choose? A straw, a rope, or an empty bucket? You should opt for the bucket. Put it on your head. This will create an air pocket, and you'll be able to breathe for a couple of minutes until help arrives. You've got lost in a desert. It's already dark, but bright moonlight illuminates the surroundings. At one point, you see a tower, but an evil wizard is looking out of the window. He tells you, "If you want to save your life, solve my riddle. You need to figure out the height of this tower." You look around and see nothing but several fallen tree branches. There's also a watch on your wrist and your own shadow. What can you use to figure out how high the tower is? Your shadow will help you. You can compare its length with the length of the shadow cast by the tower. Then, since you know your height, you can calculate the height of the tower. Miss Harrelson called the police and reported that someone had broken into her house. When the officers arrived, they found the woman tied up to a chair. She said a man in a black mask had entered her house and tied her up so that she couldn't even move. Then he had stolen all her savings and left. But the officers didn't believe Ms. Harrelson and arrested her for misreporting. Why? If the woman couldn't move, how did she manage to call the police? It was Hazley's birthday. Her parents said that they had a present for her, but she had to find it first. To help the girl, they gave her a note that said, "Where should the girl look for her present?" It seems as if the note doesn't make any sense, but that's only because the 2 halves of each word are switched. If Hazley places them in the correct order, she'll get pretty straightforward instructions. Your present is hidden in the basement. Sydney told her mother that she and her gymnastics team were going to a sports camp for the weekend. Mrs. Stevenson knew her daughter well and suspected it was just an excuse. Sydney was going to spend the weekend with her boyfriend instead. Still, the woman helped Sydney pack and let her go. When the girl returned, she was angry with her mom for forgetting to pack a toothbrush. That was when Mrs. Stevenson realized she had been right and Sydney hadn't been to the sports camp. How did she figure it out? When she packed Sydney's things, she put the toothbrush in the bag with her gymnastics clothing. If her daughter had indeed been to the sports camp, she'd have opened the bag and found the toothbrush. But she didn't, which means she never used that bag. Look at these people who are doing their grocery shopping. One of them has stolen a watermelon. Can you tell who? It must be this guy on the right. He's holding a soccer ball, but it looks as if it's very heavy. And since soccer balls don't weigh much, it must be a disguised watermelon. Mason went on an expedition to Antarctica. His boss asked him to send pictures as proof that he was actually there. Mason sent pictures every day, but when he returned from the expedition, his boss fired him. Take a closer look at the pictures and try to understand what his boss didn't like. Mason was sent to Antarctica, but in some pictures, you can see palm trees. No wonder the boss realized the photos were photoshopped and Mason hadn't gone there at all. An old man had extremely poor vision. He was living with his son, Mark, because he needed assistance all the time. One day, the man was resting in his armchair while his son was preparing dinner. Suddenly, Mark heard glass shatter. The man ran into the room and saw that the window was broken. He asked what had happened. His father told him that some dark-eyed, dark-haired guy had thrown a stone into the window and shattered it. Then he ran away. But Mark didn't believe his father. Why? The man had extremely poor vision, and he wasn't wearing his glasses at the time of the accident. He couldn't see the guy, let alone the color of his hair and eyes. Savannah went on a business trip with her husband. In the evening, the woman didn't feel well and suddenly blacked out. When Savannah woke up a couple of hours later, she couldn't remember anything. There were two men in front of her and both claimed to be her husband. The woman couldn't remember which of them was her real husband. Can you help her figure it out? They went to a business meeting. That's why they are both dressed accordingly. The guy in a hoodie doesn't look formal, so her husband must be the other one, the man who's wearing a suit. Now, this girl, Susanna, can't remember who her husband is too. Can you help her? It must be this guy. Look, he's wearing a ring while the other doesn't seem to be married. Ava's parents, John and Catherine, came to the hospital to pick up the teenager. Can you tell which of these young people is their child? It's this girl. John and Catherine are Ava's parents. Ava is a girl's name, and she's the only girl in the room. Esme was having her usual walk in the forest. By nighttime, she realized she had gotten lost again. She was wandering around until she came across the witch's house. The girl petted the cat, greeted the witch, and asked the woman to send her home. At that time, the witch was participating in a math tournament for witches from all over the world. She really wanted to win and to prove she was the smartest witch out there. There was one last task she couldn't solve. The witch promised that if Esme helped her, she'd let her go home. If not, Esme would have to stay with the witch forever. Here's the task. Make 3 identical squares by moving only 3 matches. You just have to move these 3 matches over there. It works, and Esme can return home. Thor asked his friends to guess what his laptop's 3-digit password was. Each of them made a guess. The numbers they chose were 357, 902, 907, 954. Even though no one's guess was right, every person guessed one digit correctly and exactly in its right place. Can you figure out Thor's passcode? Since just one of them guessed one digit correctly, the first digit can't be 9. In this case, 3 people would have guessed it right, and there wouldn't be enough people to guess the third digit. The only other option for the first digit is 3, which means the second digit can't be 5 and the third one can't be 7. Since the second one can't be 5, then it's 0. 2 people guessed it correctly. And the third digit is 4. If it was 2, it would mean someone guessed 2 digits correctly, 0 and 2. But that's not true. So, Thor's code is 304. Students were divided into 2 teams to do one task. Storm, Dean, and Brooke were in Team Yellow. Elsie, Emma, and Veda were in Team Purple. Following the same logic, what group does Lexi belong to? In Team Yellow, there are students whose names have just one syllable. In Team Purple, there are students with the names that consist of 2 syllables. Lexi's name has 2 syllables, so she belongs to Team Purple. Atlas got trapped in the attic of an old house. There are just 3 ways out, and all of them dangerous. Behind the first door, the roof and the floor are made out of magnifying glass, and the sun will burn anyone who comes in. Behind the second door, there's a room filled with poisonous gas, and the third door is hiding a hungry lion. How can Atlas escape? He should wait until it's night. The sun will set, and the guy will safely walk through the first door. Now, take a look at Iris and her close friends, Max, Ginny, Josh, and Ren. Who's her partner? It must be Josh. Look, they have matching tattoos. On a rainy night, Dylan was driving past a bus stop. There were 3 people there: an elderly lady who was feeling unwell, a doctor who saved many lives, and Selena, a girl Dylan had been crushing on for years. Unfortunately, there was only room for one more person in the car. What should Dylan do? He should give his car to the doctor, who would take the elderly lady and drive her to the hospital. And Dylan can stay at the bus stop with the girl of his dreams. Charlie, Andy, Taylor, and Alex are all related to each other, but one of them is the opposite gender from the other 3. Here's what you know. Alex is either Charlie's brother or Charlie's only daughter. Alex's sister is either Andy or Taylor. Taylor's only son is either Charlie or Andy. Can you tell who's the opposite gender from the other 3? If Alex is Charlie's only daughter, then Alex cannot have a sister. It means that Alex is Charlie's brother. If Alex's sister is Andy, then Andy's a girl. And according to fact 3, Charlie is Taylor's only son. But Alex is Charlie's brother. So we have a contradiction here. It means that Alex's sister is Taylor. So Taylor's a girl. Charlie, Alex, and Taylor are siblings, and Andy is Taylor's son. Keenan was watching TV when a detective arrived with a search warrant. The detective said that the city bank had been robbed, and Keenan was the main suspect. The man replied that he hadn't even left the house that day. He couldn't do anything. The police didn't find the money, but still arrested the man. Why? Keenan said he hadn't left the house, but take a look at the calendar and the grocery store receipt. The dates are the same. It means Keenan at least did some grocery shopping and lied about not leaving the house.
One night, a gang of thieves were stealing boxes with electronics from a warehouse. They were carrying them to their van when they heard a police car siren. And still, even though the thieves didn't manage to avoid the police, they didn't get arrested. Why? They started to carry the boxes back into the warehouse, pretending to be a late-night delivery. You need to take 2 apples from your garden and bring them to your friend, but she lives on the other bank of the river. To get to her house, you have to cross a bridge. It can hold your weight and the weight of 1 apple. If you try to step on the bridge with 2 apples, it'll collapse into the water, which is swarming with piranhas. What can you do to bring your friend 2 apples if you can only make 1 trip? You should cross the bridge while juggling the apples. When is 1,893 and 2,548 smaller than 498? When they are years BCE. Susan worked in a clothing store that sold expensive designer items. One day, she discovered that someone had stolen a pair of pants. Look at the people who were inside at that time. Try to figure out who the thief is. It's the guy on the right. If you look attentively at his legs, you'll see the pants peeping out from under his jeans. A mad researcher caught Eric. He told the man, "I'll let you go if you jump from a 30-foot tall ladder and remain unhurt." Eric thought a bit and did just that. How did he manage to avoid injuries? He jumped from the bottom stair. Detective Michael Brown went missing while investigating a tricky case. His friend, Detective Williams, found out that one of their colleagues was behind his disappearance. Williams visited Brown's home, and his friend's wife gave him a note. "Michael told me to give it to you if something happened to him." In the note, there were 4 numbers: 2, 8, 6, 7. Williams started to question his colleagues. "I've been away visiting my parents," said Tess. Jack said, "I haven't seen Brown for a couple of days." And Nora replied, "I'm just a trainee. Detective Brown gave me a task and I was busy doing it." Williams thought for a while, looked at the note again, and understood who was guilty. It was Tess. 2867. The first letters of these numbers make up her name. When Ashley came home in the evening, she noticed that the living room window was broken. She got angry. Her husband must have practiced his favorite soccer moves inside again. But the man said, "I was sitting on the sofa watching a soccer match. Suddenly, a ball hit the window from the outside and broke the glass." He showed his wife the soccer ball he was talking about. But Ashley came to the window and immediately realized her husband was lying. How? The woman saw that the glass was on the ground outside the house. But if someone outside had kicked the ball and it had broken the glass, the shards would be inside the room. 3 tortoises are having a walk in the park. One of them says, "2 tortoises are following me." The second tortoise says, "1 tortoise is moving in front of me and 1 is behind me." And the third tortoise says, "2 tortoises are traveling in front of me and 1 is behind me." How is it possible? The tortoises are moving in a circle. Stephen had a storeroom in his house. It got locked with a special padlock which could be closed without a key, but to open it, Stephen had to use one. The only person who had the key was Stephen. There were no duplicates. The man locked the door carefully every evening. But one day, a golden brooch was found lying in the middle of his storeroom. It had been stolen from the museum the day before. The police suspected that Stephen was the thief because no one else had the key, and the man lived alone. Stephen knew for sure he was innocent, but then, how did the brooch appear in the room? While Stephen was in the storeroom, the real criminal changed the padlock. Stephen didn't need the key to lock it. That's why he didn't realize the padlock had been changed. Later, the thief opened the lock with his own key and left the brooch inside the room. Look at these two detectives standing on a wooden board. Which of them is smarter? The one on the left. He can keep his balance by standing in the middle of the wooden board. But the other detective can easily fall down. Once, a dance studio owner found Dylan, one of the instructors, lying on the floor in one of the rooms. Someone had hit the man on the head. The police questioned the dance studio workers and visitors and found 3 suspects. Chloe, a regular, said she hadn't visited the studio for several days. She had a couple days off and spent them sunbathing on the beach. Ethan, another instructor, told the police his friend had called him and asked for help. That's why he had left the studio before Dylan came to work. Layla, Dylan's girlfriend, told the police they had quarreled earlier in the morning, but after that, she didn't see Dylan. The police officers understood right away who was behind the attack. It was Chloe. She said she had spent several days on the beach, but her skin was extremely pale. There are 4 floors in a hotel. The higher the floor, the more people stay there. Which floor does the elevator visit most frequently? The first floor. People from all the floors go there. A billionaire's wife called the police at 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. She said she found her husband unconscious in his study. A baseball bat was lying next to him on the floor. The police questioned everyone who lived in the house. The wife said she had been away, buying her husband a present for their 10th wedding anniversary. The driver said he had left the evening before. He went to his parents' house because they needed some help. And the cook said he'd been preparing breakfast since 6 a.m. and hadn't left the kitchen. Who's lying? The wife. Stores aren't likely to be open so early on Sunday morning. You've got 9 coins. One of them is fake, and it weighs a bit less than the others. You've also got a pair of scales, and you're about to do 2 weighings. How can you figure out which coin isn't real? The first weighing. 3 coins and 3 coins. If one of these piles weighs less, the fake coin is there. If they have the same weight, the fake coin is in the third pile. The second weighing, take 2 coins out of the pile with the smallest weight. The lighter one is fake. If their weight is equal, the fake coin is the third one. Kevin woke up in a hospital. He only remembered his name and nothing else. A doctor came in to check on the guy. He said 3 young women were waiting to see Kevin. The women came in. Strangely, each of them had claimed she was the guy's sister. Only one of them is telling the truth. Who is it? It's the one in the middle. She has a birthmark on her hand, and Kevin has the same. Brenda promised her friend Larry to write an essay for their Friday lecture, but she had one condition. I'll help you if you increase 86 by 12 without adding anything to this number. Larry was able to do it. How? He wrote 86 on a piece of paper, turned it upside down, and he got 98. You're at home when your friends suddenly drop by. In your fridge, you only have a bottle of soda, some orange juice, and a bottle of water. What will you open first? The door of your fridge. 5 cats need 5 minutes to catch 5 mice. How much time does one cat need to catch 1 mouse? The same time, 5 minutes. Amanda was going through a deserted park when someone hit her on the head. When she recovered, her bag, along with her phone, money, and documents were gone. There were no people around except for one elderly lady. Amanda rushed towards her, explained the situation, and asked to call the police. The lady told her not to worry and started to press 911 on her phone. After talking for a minute, she said, "They're going to be here in no time." As soon as Amanda heard these words, she sprinted off. Why? Amanda saw the lady's phone didn't have any signal. Then how could she call the police? A glass jar is standing on the table so that part of it is in the air. In half an hour, the jar will fall to the floor. Why? What's inside the jar? Inside the jar, there's some ice, but its weight is distributed in such a way that the jar is balanced. Once the ice melts and turns into water, the jar will fall. Several birds landed on trees, one bird for one tree. But in this case, one of them didn't have a tree of its own. Then they regrouped, with 2 birds sitting on one tree. After this, 1 tree was left. How many birds and trees are there? There are 4 birds and 3 trees. Look at these 4 people in a grocery store. Can you figure out who's going to steal a watermelon? It's the man with a soccer ball. It seems as if he's holding something heavy. It must be the watermelon disguised as a soccer ball. You wake up and find yourself in a locked room without windows and only one door. You look around and notice a table. There's a piece of paper, a knife, and several inflated balloons lying on it. You pick up the note. It reads, "To get out of here, you must puncture a balloon with a knife. But if the balloon bursts, you'll stay here forever." What should you do to make a hidden door open in one of the walls? You should deflate one of the balloons. After that, you can easily puncture it with a knife. You're walking along the beach and spot an expensive-looking watch in the sand. There are only 3 other people on the beach. Who does the watch belong to? This guy's watch is in his pocket. The tan line on this girl's wrist doesn't match the shape of the watch. The watch must belong to this elderly lady. You've got a sack filled with coffee beans. You need to use this coffee to completely fill 2 other sacks of the same size. How do you do it? Put one empty sack into the other and fill them with coffee. 3 young men came to a coffee shop to prepare for their final exam. A waiter came up to them and asked, "Does everyone want coffee?" The first guy said, "I don't know." The second man answered, "Nah, I don't know." And the third one answered, "Yes." Can you figure out what the first 2 guys ordered? All young men ordered coffee. Each of them wanted to have this drink, but the first two couldn't know if it would be everyone's choice. If the first two guys hadn't wanted coffee, they'd have simply said no. So when the third guy heard his friend's replies, he figured out that both of them wanted coffee. And since he was going to get a cup, he said yes. You have to think outside the box to crack this one. 1 is to 3 as 3 is to 5, and 5 is to 4. And 4 is the magic number. Can you figure out the pattern? The word 1 has 3 letters, the word 3 has 5, and the word 5 has 4 letters. But the word 4 has 4 letters in it, and whatever number you try, eventually you'll come back to 4, and the game will end there. Vincent got locked in a room with no windows and only one massive door. There's a panel with several buttons on the left and another one with a hint on it on the right. There's also a clock on the wall above the door. Which button should Vincent press to get out of the trap? The green triangle. The numbers on the panel represent hours. If you connect them on the clock face, you'll get a triangle. Add this number to the same one and multiply the result by 4. Then divide it by 8 and you'll have the very first number again. What number is it? It can be any number. You can try it out to make sure. Look at these women attentively. Which one seems to be suspicious? It's the one on the right. The woman on the left was just adding some ketchup to her dish. See that bottle? But look at the pie the woman on the right is holding. There's a smartphone peeking out of the pie. What's it doing there? It's very suspicious. The police knocked on Michael's door late in the evening. They had a search warrant. They accused the man of stealing a big sum of money from a supermarket. Mike claimed that he hadn't left the house all day, but one of the detectives saw something in his living room, and it led to the man's arrest. What was it? Look at the date on the receipt lying on the table. It's the same as the date on the calendar, which means Michael lied about not leaving his house that day. Look at these guys attentively. Can you tell which one has drawn the graffiti? It's the guy on the left. He has some spray paint on his hoodie. An ant is 2 inches away from its home. With every next step, it covers half the distance to the entrance. How many steps will the insect have to take to reach its destination? The ant will never reach the door because every time it'll travel only half the distance. Now, how about solving some rebus riddles? This is the first one for you. High, 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 high. That's high five. The next one, noon good. What's this? That's how you greet people. Good afternoon. Okay, now try this one. Way, progress. It's progress underway. Now let's check how attentive you are. Try to figure out what's wrong in the following images. There's no way anyone can wear those blue shoes. They're both left ones. How about this one? This horse looks rather natural among kangaroos, but it doesn't belong there. What's wrong in this picture? Why would a barn have a chimney? I suspect something is missing in this picture. Can you figure out what exactly? The bus doesn't have side mirrors and windshield wipers. Detective Lucas was called to investigate an accident. A car crashed into a store window and smashed the glass. There are two suspects. Both of them denied their involvement. Detective Lucas doesn't need much time to figure out who the culprit is. Do you know the answer too? It's the owner of the blue car. The pattern on its tires is the same as in front of the store. Detective Brown was having her morning coffee in a cafe when she heard a car screeching to a halt, then some loud shouting. She ran outside and spotted a man on the ground. His bicycle was lying nearby. There was also a car sitting next to the man. Detective Brown helped the cyclist up. The car driver came up to them. The cyclist exclaimed, "He hit my bike with his car, making me crash." But the driver answered, "I saw him losing control of his bike in the mirror. I left my car to check on him." Detective Brown immediately understood who was lying. Can you figure it out? Strangely, the car doesn't have side mirrors, and all that stuff in the back seat blocks the view of the road, so the driver couldn't have seen anything in his rearview mirror either. He's lying. A man wearing a hat, a bandana covering his face, and dark sunglasses robbed a bank. The police have 3 suspects. Look at them and try to figure out which one is the criminal. Usually, people tie bandanas under their ears. But in this case, the bandana covers the robber's ears. It probably hides something that distinguishes the man from other people. The criminal must be that man with only one ear. When Louisa entered the office, she noticed that her colleague Anna was very upset. It was the beginning of the working day, but someone had already stolen her purse. Only those who worked in the company could get into the office. Louisa questioned her colleagues. Maria, who worked in IT, said she'd been fixing somebody's computer. Jane, the secretary, answered she'd been on the phone with some clients. Andrew, a sales manager, said, "I've just returned from a 3-hour-long meeting. I'm exhausted." Can you figure out who took the purse? Andrew, the working day's just started. How could he come back from such a long meeting?
So, riddle me this. Amanda loved cats very much. One day, she visited an acquaintance and met her lovely Persian cat. Amanda asked her acquaintance how old the cat was. Well, in 2 years, Luna will be twice as old as she was 5 years ago. Amanda nodded and continued petting the cat. And did you understand how old the animal was? Luna is 12 years old. That's an old kitty. Look at these 3 friends. They seem to have gotten into a trap. They're hanging upside down in the air with their legs tied. On the ground, under the blonde girl's head, there are several venomous snakes. Under the head of the girl with red hair, a fire is burning. And on the ground, under the guy, there are a couple of scorpions. How can these guys escape? See that black cloud with lightning? It's going to start raining. The rainwater will put out the fire under the girl with red hair. And look, the girl has a knife tucked under her belt. She can cut the rope tying her legs, and when she's on the ground, she can help the other two. Hannah was running a marathon. Right before the finish line, she outran the person who was running in second place. The woman was happy she was going to win, but in a few seconds, she got very disappointed. Why? Hannah was still the second best. She was faster than the second person, not the first. Olivia was a secret agent on a mission. At one point during the mission, she had to get into a room with ancient artifacts. But to enter, she needed to choose between two doors. In front of them, there were two guards. Soon, Olivia realized that one guard always lied and the other always told the truth. One door was safe to open and the other hid a terrible danger. The secret agent could only ask one guard one question to figure out which door she needed to go through. What question should it be? Olivia should ask, if I asked the other guard which door was safe to open, what would he say? Both guards will point at the door that hides some danger. The lying guard, because he's, well, always lying, and the guard who tells the truth, because that's what the lying guard would tell Olivia. So the woman just needs to open the other door. Liza was working as a teaching assistant at a college. One day, she had to look after a group of students who were writing an exam. Liza knew some of them were going to cheat, and indeed, soon after the exam started, the girl spotted one person who was cheating. Who is it? It's the guy in the back of the classroom. He's got the answers written on his ruler. Can you figure out which of these two watches is real and which is just a toy? The watch on the left is a toy. Look at its minute hand. It's too long and won't be able to pass all the way around the watch face. In a small village, there were 4 people who were suspected of being werewolves. One night, the village held a meeting to decide which of them was the monster. Here is what the suspects look like. This person has long, sharp fingernails and is known for being able to run extremely fast. This person has long, sharp teeth and is known for being able to see in the dark. This person has wild, unkempt hair and is known for being able to jump high. And this person has a deep growling voice and is known for being able to smell things from far away. Can you figure out which of them is the werewolf? Suspect B is the werewolf. The description of long, sharp teeth and being able to see in the dark are both typical characteristics of werewolves in mythology and folklore. While the other suspects have unusual traits as well, they are not necessarily associated with werewolves. Joe has a friend, Lucas, who never answered any questions directly. Once, Joe sent Lucas a message inviting him to join their common friends in a cafe. Lucas's answer was kind of weird. Sorry, no money, Jobinjob. Luckily, Joe knew his friend well enough to understand what he meant. But can you figure it out? Lucas meant he had no money because he was in between jobs. Look at this bizarre wedding. What do you think? Why are these people, who are about to get married, wearing black balaclavas? Look, there are cameras on the walls. This couple must be hiding their identities. 3 friends went for a walk in a forest. People said a wizard lived there, and he wasn't a kind, friendly person. But our guys didn't believe these rumors. Everyone knows magic doesn't exist. Suddenly, a wall of fire blocked their way. Look at the things the friends have and try to figure out what they can use to put the fire out. They could use this bucket to bring some water from that puddle, but it wouldn't be enough to put out such a large fire. This hose is useless, there's nothing to attach it to. The friends should choose this spade and use soil to put the fire out. You're in a forest. Suddenly, it starts raining. You notice a cave and hide there. But as soon as you get inside, the opening behind you closes. There are 3 tunnels in front of you, and one of them leads to freedom. But the first tunnel is full of crocodiles that haven't eaten in 2 years. In the second tunnel, there is a hungry lion that hasn't had any food in 2 weeks. And the third tunnel leads to a scorching hot desert. Which tunnel should you choose? You should wait until the desert cools down at night and follow the third tunnel. As for crocodiles, yes, these animals can indeed live without food for up to 2 years. Lions can also survive for 2 weeks without eating anything. But before you get a chance to leave the cave, you hear some deafening noise. It's a landslide. The tunnels end up blocked, but you now see 3 other passages. A fire-breathing, wait, is it a dragon? Is guarding the first passage. The second passage is filled with hundreds of poisonous cacti growing there. Their spines are covered with an extremely toxic substance. And in the third tunnel, you can see the red eyes of some very hungry wolves. Which tunnel can lead you to safety? You should choose the tunnel with the cacti. At least they can't move. And if you're careful, you'll be able to walk around the cacti without touching their spines. One morning, Donna came to the office and found a box of chocolates on her desk. There was also a strange note. Can you help Donna understand who presented her the sweets? Her secret admirer is Ryan. Those are not dates. The number actually means the needed letter in the name of the month. A man told his boss, "Don't take your planned flight today. I had a dream last night that if you do, it might end badly. Your plane will crash." The boss fired the man. Can you figure out why? The man was a night watchman. He should have been on duty the previous night, not dreaming. Jacob and Mark decided to go on a camping trip. Look at the things they're going to take with them and say what they should leave at home. A small hint, try to think outside the box. Look, a tent, game, rice, lamp. All of these words consist of 4 letters. But a chair? This word has 5 letters. The friends should leave it at home. A man went around the world in a ship, and still he was always in sight of land. How is it possible? The man was in a spaceship orbiting Earth. Hannah's birthday is on January 23rd, but she always celebrates it in the summer. Why? Hannah lives in the Southern Hemisphere. There, January is one of the hottest months of the year. Hey, nice job! Well, today, you'll need to be as attentive as you've probably never been. To crack these riddles, you'll have to pay attention to every little detail and try to figure out what is important and what's not. Are you ready?
Yeah.
A student has failed his test and came to his teacher asking how he could improve his marks. The teacher replied, "If you manage to solve my riddle, I'll give you a better mark. You have a cardboard box. It's easier to lift from a wooden floor than from a steel table. What's in the box?" The student thought for a while and answered correctly. What did he say? The box is filled with magnets. Look at these triangles. Which number should be in the last one? It should be 3. To get this answer, you need to subtract the left number from the upper number and multiply the result by the number in the bottom right corner. Now, both of these watches seem perfectly fine, but only at first glance, because one of them is real while the other is just a toy. Can you figure out which is which? The watch on the left is just a toy. Have you noticed that the minute hand is too long to pass around the watch's face while moving? Your task is to separate these trees in such a way that there are 5 rows with 4 trees in each row. How can you do it? That's the best way to fulfill this task. A dangerous criminal managed to escape from the police. He got a job in a wealthy mansion. When the detectives arrived there, they found out that 3 men had been hired recently. They questioned each of them. Michael, the cook, told the police he'd been working in a restaurant before. But then the restaurant went out of business and he found a new job. John, the gardener, answered he had always been interested in plants. After finishing garden design courses, he landed this job. And Robert, the security guard, said his father was the house owner's friend. He helped Robert get his position. Who's the criminal? It's the cook. If you were attentive, you probably noticed that before the police came, he had been trying to make an omelet, but it was full of eggshells. A real cook would have never made such a mistake. Take a look at this picture attentively. A few things are wrong here, but to make your task more complicated, I won't tell you how many mistakes you can find. If you found 3 mistakes, congratulations. Yes, this clock is all messed up. June only has 30 days. And the shoes the girl is wearing are from different pairs. How about this next image? Can you find any mistakes here? There are even more mistakes in this image, 5 in total. First of all, carrots don't grow this way. This thing looks like a fridge, but there are brooms inside. This man has probably failed to decide whether he's going out or staying inside. Look at his shoes. The armchair is missing one of its legs, and the woman is using a lawnmower instead of a vacuum cleaner. How about this? At first sight, perfectly normal breakfast. What's wrong with it? It's the kettle. In a regular electric kettle, max is at the top and min is at the bottom, not vice versa. Duh! It's definitely not the best time to be waiting for a bus. Anyway, can you spot anything weird in this image? The girl in the red dress is perfectly dry, but she doesn't have an umbrella and it's pouring with rain. Now, Sherlock, you need to figure out what's wrong with this picture. It's the river. Where does it disappear after going under the bridge? Something important was stolen from a mansion, and there were two suspects, the cook and the gardener. The gardener said that he had been working in the garden all day, but had gone to call firefighters when he had smelled something that had been burning. The cook, on the other hand, said that she had been working in the kitchen all morning. Who is lying? The cook is a liar. Take a look at that cake on the table. The cook must have left the kitchen at some point for it to burn so badly. Now look at these animals attentively. Which is the odd one? It's this kangaroo. It's the only creature whose name doesn't start with C. Melissa stayed late at work one evening. When she was walking home, it was already dark. Suddenly, she noticed a group of people. They were moving in a strange, jerky way, coming closer and closer. With growing horror, Melissa realized that the approaching people were actually zombies. In the next moment, she got surrounded. Interestingly, the next day, the girl was in the kitchen making a vegetable salad. How is it possible? Look at the calendar hanging on the wall. It's November the 1st. It was Halloween the day before, and zombies were just some dressed-up people. Jerry got a job as a security guard at a supermarket. On his first day, he heard an alarm go off when a young woman was leaving the store. He stopped her and asked whether she had a receipt. She did, so Jerry checked it and the girl's bag. Everything looked okay, but the guy still called the police. Why? Look, the date on the receipt is wrong. It's different from the one on the screen over the entrance. The girl had bought all the products the day before and then came the next day to steal the same stuff. A wealthy businessman was poisoned at a restaurant. When the police arrived, they questioned all the other visitors who were there at that time. Albert said he had been talking on the phone with his brother. Judy told the police she had been waiting in a bathroom line. Diana said she had been writing a report for her boss. And Philip said he had been putting on his clothes, ready to leave. Who is the culprit? It's Judy. Besides her, there were only 3 other visitors in the restaurant, and all of them were busy. There couldn't be any people waiting to use the bathroom. It's something that comes with a train, leaves with a train, but is of no use to a train. And yet, no train can go without it. What is it? It's noise. Andrew and his friend Kenneth went to the beach to have some fun. Andrew started to play volleyball with Gary, a guy they met there. After the game was over, Andrew went to a beach bar and ordered a lemonade. But after drinking it, he almost immediately fell sick and lost consciousness. Kenneth called an ambulance and his friend was taken to a hospital. There, it was discovered Andrew had been poisoned. The police questioned the suspects. Kenneth said, "I'm sure the barman put something in Andrew's drink." The barman exclaimed, "Why would I poison my customer? It was probably the guy he played volleyball with. He lost the game and wanted to get revenge." Gary said, "After we finished playing, I went for a swim in the sea. I didn't even know Andrew had been taken to a hospital." Can you figure out who poisoned Andrew? It was the barman. He lied about Gary losing the game to frame the guy. Two girls, Tina and Betty, got lost in the forest. After some time, each of them found a clearing with lots of berries growing there. At that moment, the girls had been starving. They decided to snack on the berries. But for one of them, it's going to be a grave mistake. Which girl is that? Betty is eating berries from endangered plants. She's not supposed to do it, but they won't make her sick. On the other hand, Tina is munching on berries that have bought the farm for a bird, and it ain't coming back. It means they might be poisonous for the girl, too. It's too risky to eat them. Put them down, Tina, and walk away. Ah, good girl.
Mr. Robinson is a successful businessman. One morning, he had an insight. Later that day, he invited two of his best managers to his office to discuss this breakthrough. Which of these men is Mr. Robinson? It's the man on the right. His suit jacket is on the boss's chair. It's an animal. Take away its last letter, and you'll get a water body where this creature usually catches fish. What is it? It's a seal, which transforms into the sea. Tilda's mother has 7 daughters. The names of her 6 daughters are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Can you guess the 7th daughter's name? That's right, it's Tilda. It begins and ends with E, but only has 1 letter. What is it? The right answer is an envelope. Mrs. Sally baked her favorite chocolate cookies for a charity fair. She left them on the kitchen table and went to the garden. When she came back, all the cookies had been eaten. Mrs. Sally got very angry and questioned her 3 children. Her eldest son, David, said he hadn't eaten the cookies because he had spent all day in the garden. Her middle daughter, Shelley, wiped some crumbs off her face and said she'd just eaten a sandwich. The youngest daughter, Sarah, said she didn't eat sweets because she was on a diet. Mrs. Sally knew exactly who was lying. Have you figured it out too? It was David. Mrs. Sally was in the garden when someone ate the cookies. If she had seen David there, he wouldn't be among the suspects. Look at the picture. Can you find the odd star? The star that's different is in the left corner. The middle of this star is smaller than that of the rest. Delivery guy Robert entered a jewelry store to pick up an expensive diamond necklace for his boss. Saleswoman Daphne took the necklace out of the safe and was about to pack it in a box. But suddenly, the lights went off in the entire store. When the lights turned on a couple of seconds later, the necklace was gone. The alarm went off and the store doors slammed shut. But only Robert, Daphne, and one other customer called Vicky remained inside. The police came over and interrogated all of them. Robert said he hadn't seen anything. Daphne said she had felt someone push her in the dark. They must have taken the box. And Vicky claimed she had been choosing rings for her upcoming wedding in the opposite corner of the store. The detectives immediately understood who the robber was. What about you? Vicky stole the necklace. She's already wearing a wedding ring on her finger. Kitty was walking in the woods and got lost. At one point, she met a magic fox. The fox said, "If you can solve my riddle, I'll help you find your way home. But if you don't, you'll turn into a fox and stay here with me."
Uh-oh.
When you have it, you want to share it. But if you share it, you don't have it. What is it? Kitty returned home that night. What did she say to the fox? It's a secret. If you share a secret, you can't keep it anymore. Look at the picture. How many squares do you see? A. 10. B. 5. C. 3. D. 6. You're right. There are 10 squares. You're supposed to count all the colors. Stephen had a dream of becoming a successful geologist and traveling the world. That's why he took a very difficult test and answered all the questions correctly. Professor Smith said he had one final question for Stephen. If the guy answered it correctly, he'd go on an exciting mountain expedition the following week. Mount Everest was discovered in 1852, but what was the highest mountain in the world before that? The next week, Stephen was proudly walking in the mountains with his colleagues. What did he say to the professor? Stephen said it was Mount Everest. It was still the highest mountain in the world, even though it hadn't been discovered yet. Jenny worked as a cleaning lady at a museum. Once, she found a beautiful diamond ring on a sink while she was cleaning the ladies' room. 3 people showed up to claim it. Tyler said he hadn't seen the ring after visiting the bathroom. He needed to get it back to propose to his girlfriend. Kelly showed Jenny a tan line on her finger and said it was her engagement ring. Leah just asked whether there was an engraving on the inside of the ring. Jenny decided that the ring belonged to Leah. Why? Kelly's tan line was on the wrong finger. Tyler wouldn't have been allowed into the ladies' room, and Leah was the only one who knew the ring had an engraving. Susie entered an elevator and pressed the 7th floor where she lived. Suddenly, the elevator got stuck between floors. Susie got anxious and hit the emergency button. The operator said, "I'll restart the elevator, but first, you have to solve my riddle." "What can you hold without touching it?" he asked. 1 minute later, Susie was on her floor. What did she say to the operator? Breath. You can hold it without using your hands. It belongs to your friend, but you use it way more than them. What is it? That's right, it's your friend's name. Alice was walking in a field and suddenly saw a white rabbit. She took a picture of the animal. Suddenly, the rabbit said, "Hey, I can show you where the treasures are hidden." Alice got very excited, but then her friend called her and the rabbit ran away. When Alice returned to the field the next day, she saw 9 rabbits. They all kept silent. Can you help Alice find the right rabbit? It's over there, in the right corner. What substance is there in each mug? 1. It's not sugar or water. 2. It's not sugar or tea. 3. It's not tea or water. The first mug contains tea, the second mug contains water, and the third mug is full of sugar.
Mr. Wilson's company was having lots of financial problems. One day, the man called the police. He said someone had broken into his office. "They stole my safe with all the money I had." The police officers who came to investigate asked the man why he was sure it was they. "Well, my safe was too heavy for one person to carry it." The police instantly realized Mr. Wilson was lying. How? If the safe had been indeed so heavy, it would have left dents in the carpet. After the bank had been robbed, the police found the bag with the money in the park. It was lying among cacti. The police officers arrested 3 suspects. It didn't take long to figure out who the bank robber was. Do you know who it is? It's the man on the left. He's the only one with some scratches. They were left by the cacti. The police suspected that Deborah took part in smuggling diamonds out and into the country. But they didn't have any proof. That's why Detective Taylor was following the woman, trying to find some evidence. One day, he noticed that Deborah entered a house, but when she left it, Taylor realized she didn't have any diamonds on her. She must have left them in the house. How did he understand? Deborah was wearing boots with removable heels. The diamonds were hidden there. Look at this picture carefully and try to figure out who the guy's mom is. The woman on the right is definitely human. She can't breathe underwater. But the guy doesn't have any problems with that. He's smiling and looks relaxed. Plus, he has gills. That means the mermaid is his mother. Detective Martin was choosing a diamond ring for his fiancée when a man in a black mask ran into the jewelry store. He made all the visitors lie on the floor and took the most expensive jewelry and money. After that, Detective Martin saw the man get on a red motorbike and speed away. The police officer jumped into his car and set off on a chase. At one point, he came to a crossroads. Where should he go now? Suddenly, Martin saw a car coming from the opposite direction. He asked the driver if he had seen the red bike. "No, I've only seen a silver convertible and nothing else." Then the detective saw a gray car appear from the left. The woman inside said she hadn't seen the red bike, but she'd seen a yellow bike and a group of cyclists. And the man who appeared from the right told Detective Martin he'd only noticed a large blue truck. Where is the robber? The motorbike can only be inside the blue truck. A unique diamond was exhibited in a famous museum. It was guarded at all times, and only small groups of 10 people were allowed to enter the room. After one of such groups had left, an alarm went off. The guards ran into the room and found there a young man. They searched him. There were just several bills, a lighter, a bottle with soda, a camera, and a cell phone in his bag. The guards had to let the man go. But the next morning, it was announced that the diamond had been stolen. How did it happen? The man replaced the real diamond with a fake one and hid the real treasure in his bottle with soda. Mr. Raymond Lopez, a rich businessman, urgently needed his assistant, but the guy was on vacation in the countryside. It was Wednesday when Mr. Lopez sent him a letter asking the man to come to the city as soon as he could. Now it's already Sunday and no assistant in sight. Raymond decided to go and check on the guy. When he arrived, he found out that his assistant was okay and packing his stuff. "Oh, Mr. Lopez, I received your letter just yesterday. I was going to leave in a half an hour," he exclaimed. "You're fired. I don't need people I can't trust. You just wanted to have a longer vacation, that's all." Why did Mr. Lopez think so? The calendar on the assistant's table shows that it's Monday, November 4th. But there's no mail delivery on Sundays. The guy is lying. Someone robbed a bank in a large city. A police detective went to visit the main suspect. "I've been feeling unwell all this week, and I haven't left my apartment for 3 days. I didn't even need food. My fridge is full, you can make sure yourself," the suspect said, and indeed opened his fridge. But the detective realized the man was lying and arrested him. How did he figure it out? First of all, the bread on the table looks fresh. Plus, if the man had been staying inside for 3 days already, his fridge wouldn't be that full. An art expert paid big money at an auction for a painting that didn't cost anything. He knew about this fact. He was also an honest man and didn't have any criminal intentions. Why did he buy this picture? Although the painting cost nothing, its frame was a beautiful and expensive piece of art. After several crimes had been committed in the city, the police decided to visit the main suspect. He lived in the countryside. When the officers entered the house, they found no one inside. They searched the entire place, including the attic, which was in a mess. Then they decided to wait for the house owner to come home. One of the police officers went to buy some water. When he came back, he told the rest of his colleagues there was no need to wait anymore. Why? The attic window was closed when the police first arrived, but now it's open. The criminal was hiding in the attic and escaped through the window. Two people are standing near the river. Both of them want to get to the opposite side, but the boat can only hold one of them. And still, they manage to get across the river. How? They were on the opposite banks. Detective Adams came to the park to have lunch outside in the sun, but his attention was drawn by 3 men running around a fountain. Each of them was shouting, "Thief! Catch the thief!" The detective was confused. Who was the real thief? That's why he just kept watching. After some time, the distance between the men shortened. Detective Adams immediately realized who the real thief was. Can you figure it out too? If the third man was the thief, the second one would only have to turn around to catch him. The same goes for the second man, which means the man running the first is the criminal. How can you put a whole apple into a glass bottle without cutting the fruit or breaking the glass? Put the bottle over an apple tree branch in the spring, then wait until an apple grows inside. Scott, an infamous burglar, came home one evening. Just a day before, he had stolen some very expensive paintings from Mr. Smith's house. He was in the living room when he noticed several police officers approaching his home. Scott gave instructions to his wife and slipped out through the back door. When the officer knocked on the door, Scott's wife told him, "My husband has been away for a week already. He's actually supposed to come home today." At this moment, Scott entered the house. He hugged his wife as if they hadn't seen each other for ages. But the police officers didn't believe them. Why? Look at the dog. If its owner had been away for a week, the pooch would be jumping around, happy and excited. But the animal saw Scott just a couple of minutes ago and isn't showing too much enthusiasm. If it's raining at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it'll be sunny? No way. In 72 hours, it's going to be night again. Detective Lee was called to a small family cafe. The owner told him her story. "I went away to the kitchen for a couple of minutes, but when I came back, I saw that all the money from the cash desk had been stolen." At that time, there were only 3 visitors in the cafe. All of them were women. When the detective asked them who had taken the money, each of them exclaimed, "It was her!" The first woman added, "The owner is my friend. How could I do this to her?" The second woman said, "I was looking out of the window, drinking my coffee. I didn't see anything." And the third woman claimed she would never steal anything. Who took the money? Detective Lee quickly figured out that the thief was the second woman. First of all, the two others pointed at her. Secondly, she claimed that the first woman had stolen the money. But if she really was looking out of the window, how could she know this? During a fire, a bank was robbed. The security guard told the police that he wanted to save a bag of money, but he had to crouch to lace up his boot just in front of the emergency exit. At that moment, the door opened and hit him on the head. When he came to his senses, the money was missing. Why was the security guard arrested? All emergency doors open outwards. A young lady has the same number of brothers and sisters, but each of her brothers has 2 times fewer brothers than sisters. How many sisters and brothers are there in the family? There are 4 girls and 3 guys in the family. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.